Well, hi, and welcome to the next episode of my Leveraging Your Voice podcast. Today, as you can see, I have another special guest with me. Stacey is with us. Stacey, just say hi.
Hey.
Awesome. Now, Stacey is someone that I know, and I do some different things with Stacey, my business and her business. So Stacey I've known for a little while, and I like Stacey. She's great, and I think you will like her as we get to know her a little bit today in our podcast. Again, this podcast is about helping business owners come on and leverage their voice by sharing with us what is their mission and purpose in life. And everybody that comes on seems to enjoy it, so I'm glad we get to have a chance with Stacey as well. I'm your host, Paul Rakowitz. And what I do in my business, PR Vocal Coaching, is help professionals to speak with confidence. A lot of professionals struggle, say, in presentations. And when I say presentations, I mean like group settings where they're presenting in the office or with their prospects or customers or just with their teams, in presenting themselves with a voice of authority and being able to really influence people with the way they speak. And those kind of people love to come to me and get help. And if you fall into that category and want to learn more, just hop over to my website and do that, 𝑝rvocalcoaching.com. Stacey, we're going to focus on you now. Why don't you just tell us who you are, and then we'll get into what you do.
Yeah, sounds great. So I'm Stacey Seguin. I'm based out of Greensboro, North Carolina. I work with real estate investors to help them get clarity around their financials as business owners. And what I find, real estate investors spend 90% of their time working on their deals and analyzing the deals and making sure that they're getting enough deals, but not enough time is spent on understanding how their business finances are doing. And so I have a company, Oh My ROI, that I started back in 2015 for that specific reason. And around 2021 is when I got into working with real estate investors, which I've really enjoyed learning the real estate space. And I find it's really challenging. It's fast paced and it's fun. A lot of good stuff.
That's awesome. So what is it that got you into finance? I mean, did you get a degree in finance and it was just a natural extension? Or tell us a little bit about how you got here.
So no, I did not go to school for finance. And to be perfectly honest, I've shared this with you in other settings, Paul, but math almost kept me out of college. And so there was only one school I wanted to go to. I had a very specific path that I was creating for myself. So I think that really connects for me and the real estate investors that I work with. Many of them are very independent minded and want to forge ahead and do their own thing. And so I really resonate with that. That makes a lot of sense to me. But to be perfectly honest, my degree is in sociology, anthropology. And I actually got that or just made that decision in the second semester of my junior year when everything had radically changed. I was on one path for international business and I needed to make a declaration. And so I picked what was the latest class I had that I had an A in, and that was sociology, anthropology. And so I completed my entire major in the following 3 quarters or 3 semesters.
So that's a great story from where you started, which isn't finance. And then how did you end up getting into finance, especially since math almost kept you out of school?
Yeah, so great segue. When in 1994, 93, 94, I co-founded a private investigative company with who was then future ex-husband. And we went on this entrepreneurial path. I had an opportunity at that point in time to pick big business, corporate, consulting, IT, and large organizations or small business and help this guy that I had met. And I chose that night, or really my career chose me. And I decided not to go into the corporate kind of life and go small business. So that really makes a lot of sense to me. And I spent 20 years building that company and learning all the things not to do, making all the mistakes. We took that from bootstrap startup to a multi-million-dollar nationwide service provider operating in 28 states with 15 staff members and 4 offices, about 750 subcontractors. So a lot of chaos. And, I learned a lot along the way. I got into accounting that way. So I had the capacity and the wherewithal to stick with it and understand the finances, gave us the analysis, the information we needed to make better business decisions. I still didn't know everything. And so in 2015, when I went out on my own and started a bookkeeping company, I thought, what's a marketable skill? And what's something I love to do in my 20s? And I really wanted to help business owners understand how to read their financials and use that information to make better business decisions. So that's it. That's my story.
How did you get into, that's a great story. How'd you get into Oh My something or other? What's that?
Oh My ROI.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Yeah, so I was, when I was thinking about what's a marketable skill and what's something I like to do in my 20s, marketable skill was the bookkeeping and accounting. And I thought if I could take business owners from that place of really frustration and just head in the hands trying to go, what am I doing and what is all this for and how do I do it? And I'm frustrated, to that light bulb moment where they go, oh, now I get it. There's a thing that happens when I'm working with business owners and they start to understand the balance sheet. Everybody understands the P&L because that's where your decisions are. You sold something and you spent something. You know what you did and it's concrete. Well, there we're owners and operators, and it makes sense to us because of that concrete essence of what we're doing. But on the balance sheet, that's where the value of your corporation is, or your company, or the effort that you're putting into it. And it's not until you understand what's happening on the balance sheet and how the P&L feeds it that you start to have real control in your business. And so that's what I enjoy helping real estate investors understand.
And how's that connect to the Oh My?
It's that flip from frustration to the aha, now I get it. Oh my. And so my vision is,
oh, I see. When you help people, they say, oh my, I have a return on my investment now.
Well, exactly. We put our entire lives as business owners into our businesses. It is who we are. It is how we are. It is everything about us, whether we want it to be or not. And the more aligned we are with who we are and who we serve and how we do it, the more authentic, and I'll say it's about our integrity, how that reflects who we are as individuals, the more successful we are. But it's not until you understand that balance sheet that you can say, oh, now I know how to drive everything forward. Now I've got control. Now I know the impact of this number versus that number. And I understand how this decision is going to show up in what we have in the long term. So it really was that going from that frustration. And it's born out of what I experienced in business, walking out of the CPA's office every single year with a pat on the back and a just don't spend so much or just don't make so much. We didn't have control. And we were doing all of the things, but we didn't know how to make decisions from an outcome-based place. And it's not until you understand that as a business owner that you can start responding logically and with intention to the outside influences. And there's a lot of them right now. There's a lot of consolidation in the marketplace. There's buyouts, mergers, acquisitions. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of people retiring. There's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of things that are beyond our control or seem like they're beyond our control. And so we work really, really hard as business owners and entrepreneurs. We don't always get what we want out of the businesses. And until you understand that balance sheet, you're not going to.
Now, if I'm a business owner, a real estate investor, I believe is what you talked about, and I'm watching this saying, hey, I have some of those issues and I'd like to understand my balance sheet better, where would they go to connect with you? Do you have a website or what would happen?
Yeah. Yeah. So my website URL is ohmyroi.com. You can connect with me there. You can connect with me personally on LinkedIn, and you can connect with me. I actually started a YouTube channel, so you can find Oh My ROI on YouTube as well.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So what if I do connect with you? I'm a small business owner,
Mhm.
real estate, that sort of thing, and I want to connect with you. Now, is that just real estate, or is that sometimes business owners who also are in real estate?
Yeah, so what I find in the real estate space that's really interesting is many real estate investors are multi-entity entrepreneurs. So they
Mhm.
may have another business, maybe they're doctors and they're getting into the real estate space, or they have another business endeavor and they want to transition into real estate. So there's two ways that I think of it. I think of it as real estate investors, or it might be multi-entity entrepreneurs.
Yeah, that's a
Um,
good
and
distinction.
yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
glad you brought that out. Okay, so if I'm any one of those people
Mhm.
and I come to your website and I connect with you, what's going to happen? What process am I going to go through to start to get a feel for whether I might be a client of yours, whether you might be somebody who could help me? What's the process they'll go through?
So we usually start with a discovery call. It's either myself or my partner, 𝐦𝐻𝐤𝐬𝐬. One of the two of us will talk to you about what's going on in your business and what's prompting you to reach out. We offer management accounting services. We offer coaching, and we offer cash management. So those are the services that we do. And I come from a background, because I was a business owner. I realized I'm actually a strategist. Part of my purpose in life is to bring wisdom and insight to the people who I connect with. And so that's the process.
So
We'll
they'll
have.
start with a discovery call, talk about what brought them to you. And
Mhm.
let's say after all that, they say, hey, I do want to do something. Then how do they get onboarded and that sort of thing? What's that experience? Is it something that's simple and easy, or is it a 7-year process? How's it work?
Definitely not a 7-year process. It kind of depends on which way you're coming. If you're coming in as a coaching client, there's a separate process. If you're coming in as accounting and bookkeeping, then the process is more focused on taking an inventory of your technology and your process. So we're really digging into and understanding how the finances are being developed. And either way, you're going to feel like you have a partner in your business who understands who you are, who you serve, and how you do it.
Now, sometimes you say, hey, we get people onboarded, and I got to go over like years of stuff to get them all caught up. What's happening in those situations? Because maybe I'm
So
somebody watching in that situation and I'm afraid to call. Should they be afraid to call or?
no, not at all. And so one of the things that, because I've been on the receiving end of this, one of the things that I do is we don't allow restructuring or re-architecting or cleanups, or however you're going to call it. We don't allow that to stop. So we take you from where you're at and we bring your bookkeeping forward. We don't want to, there's two things. We don't want to incentivize you to not do your accounting right by reducing the cost of working with us for that cleanup. So if we're coming in and we have multiple years that we have to update or correct or restructure, then we're not going to make changes unless it's to your advantage if your taxes have already been filed. So if that's done, we're not making any changes going backwards. We're going to bring you forwards. But it's a deeply personal and individual decision, and we'll do what's in your best interest.
Now
So
tell us a
hopefully.
story about somebody who had a situation like that and you helped them. And were they happy at the end of all that? Were they
Oh my God.
pleased?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
tell
the
us about that.
feedback, the feedback that we're getting from our clients is, number one, they're incredibly amazed. They may have hired 3 or 4 other people before working with us. So coming in and working with us, the feedback is, we feel like you're a partner. We feel like you understand our business. There's room for us to grow, and we're not going to leave you. And so that's reciprocal. Like, where do we have that reciprocity? Someone just told me the other day, and I laugh. It's amusing, but I really like this analogy. She said, Stacey, it's like you're Who Framed Roger Rabbit? You're not going to stop until you find the answer. And that makes a lot of sense. I was the kind of person who needed to figure out the puzzle, and the jewelry that was all, tangled up in somebody's jewelry box. I would go and untangle the little tiny chain link gold jewelry. Like, I stick with it until I figured it out. And I love that. It's a lot of fun. It's challenging. But the results are amazing. When a business owner starts to figure out how to drive things forward from their balance sheet, like, there's a great deal of peace of mind, and they know that what they're working for really matters and that they're able to succeed.
That's a powerful thing you're bringing to them.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else you want to tell us about Oh My ROI in your business and how you work with customers?
Yeah, I think it's really important to understand that we are Mastery certified Profit First professionals, and we are also certified pumpkin plan strategists. And I am an IPEC trained coach and a Master Energy Leadership Index practitioner. And so that particular assessment is one of Forbes' top 3 that are recommended for leaders and entrepreneurs.
So you have a lot of background training to help people in many different ways. Talk about the profit first thing. What's the principle in that system?
Yeah, so the basic idea is our traditional model of business is sales minus expenses equals profit. And what we do is flip that around. Sales minus profit equals expenses. So what it challenges us to do is reduce our operating expenses so that we're able to pay for owner's benefit. That would be your owner's compensation, your owner's tax, and your owner's profit. And profit really is the reward you get for being in business for yourself. It brings stability to the organization and job security to the people who work with you. It's also about being strategic and innovative. So some people do profit first and they're just moving money around and allocating money and then putting it back into their business. They're not being intentional about what they're doing, who they serve, and how they do it. And about 87% of small businesses it might be 86% now, they're running paycheck to paycheck, just like most of us and our employees are operating paycheck to paycheck. And so what we do is take the financial information that we're able to produce and give business owners an idea of, based on your top line revenue, your real revenue. We've got a different formula that we use. That's not just the standard cost of goods. We look at things a little bit more critically. And then we take that real revenue and figure out, for the size company that you are, here's what you should be able to pay yourself as a business owner. Here's what you should be able to set aside or need to set aside for taxes. And here's what you should be able to pull out on a quarterly basis for profit. And that either goes back into, like, you can maximize that and develop what you're doing in the organization, or you can put money towards debt reduction. And we do work with people who need to do that.
Now, when somebody goes through that process on the other end, do they have a little more peace of mind about what they're doing with their business?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the there's a lot of benefits to working strategically in this way. Like, number one, it's clarity and peace of mind, but also your business is paying you back. If you don't do this and you don't have the lifestyle that you're looking for, you start to resent your business. And that's the worst place to be. Because when you're limited in that way, you don't make good decisions. You make decisions out of fear. You make decisions based off of what other people want and what other people are demanding from you, and not necessarily what you want for yourself. And so you're just feeling like you're behind the 8 ball. Way back in my early days, we had structured our company so it was a funnel, and everything funneled down through us as the leaders. And we just felt like we had no control. We were at everybody's mercy, employees' mercy, vendors' mercy, clients, Mercy. Everybody wanted a piece of us. And being able to do this, starting with the financials, puts you in that position of being able to look at where you want to go and create impact and legacy. And so if you think of, I know we're limited on our time, but if you think of the business hierarchy of needs, every business needs a certain amount of sales at the bottom, a certain amount of profit, a certain amount of order, and we might cycle through those three things trying to get to a place where now we can have lasting impact and we can start to have legacy. So it's really about the long-term view and not just the short term. And that might mean exiting, or that might mean there's a different succession plan. Could be turning it into an employee-owned organization or being sold to someone else. So,
yeah, that all sounds really good. Now I want to ask you another question. You said at the end there something about traits, or you were certified. What was the fourth thing you said you were certified in?
So that's the IPEC.
Yeah.
IPEC is the Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching, and it's the gold standard of ICF coaching. The ICF Coach Federation, it's the International Coach Federation, and they're a licensing body, an organization that, how do I want to say it, for professional coaches. There are a lot of coaching programs out there. IPEC is one of the first, and I really love their tools and their analysis. But the Energy Leadership Index assessment gives you a really easy way to see how you respond to certain situations, typically under normal circumstances, and then how you respond when you're under stress. And we can do that assessment for teams. So we can look at the whole team, how the whole team responds. We can look at individuals, how they respond.
And that's what I wanted to ask you about. Now, how's that help when you use that with a business? How does that help the business?
Yeah, glad you asked. We lead our lives by choice or by default. And the more awareness we have as to the choices we're making and the choices we see, so the more success we will have. And oftentimes I find it's not just in real estate, but every individual has sort of a default pattern that we're not even aware of. If you think of the iceberg model, you're aware of the tip of the iceberg, and there's a whole bunch of stuff below the water that's going on that you're not aware of. And there can be some really successful people that are operating from an area where they are tolerating a lot of things that they really don't have to tolerate. And so where we recognize that is it's fine, it'll work out, doesn't really matter. Like, we're dismissing things that are actually pain points and our distractions. And we're not, that doesn't free our energy up to be able to look at what's possible. So it limits our choices. And it puts us more in a reactionary mode. So using this energy leadership assessment, we can have a conversation about alternative ways to look at things.
Do you use that with all your clients, or is that something that they have to decide, yeah, I do want that, or no, I don't want that?
Yeah, so I'll tell you, when we use it, it's been extremely powerful. And I have people requesting that information, especially around their teams. There's some places where when you're trying to get out of being the sole proprietor and you want to build a team, the team's assumptions and interpretations of things can really get in the way of being able to function as an effective team. And so that's where I start to recommend doing that when we have leaders who have like the beginning of department heads and to teach other people how to manage the people below them and are starting to delegate. Our communication gets in the way, it gets more complicated, expectations and interpretations of things, all of that gets complicated.
Well, I know a few small business owners that could have used such a thing.
Send them my way. Happy to work with them.
All right.
Yeah.
Anything else? I asked you once and you had some other things to share. And this is what I always ask, because I want to make sure that I didn't miss anything. But anything else you wanted to share with our audience today?
No, I think that's it. It's awesome.
Okay.
It's a
Well,
great
you did a
conversation.
great job
Thank you.
sharing about your business and why you're in it and who you help and how you help them. So I
Thank you.
appreciate you joining us today. Again, what's your website that people can go to? And we'll include it when we share the video. We'll include it
Yeah.
in there. But
So go to www.𝐻MYROI.com.
and they can go to that on YouTube too.
Yeah, I think it might be a little bit different because I think there's a number associated with it, but I will have a link for you in our show.
Perfect. Perfect. I love it. Now you're also doing some online activity. Are you interviewing different people or are you doing that mostly on your own and sharing teachings?
So I am. That's a great question. I am beginning to have conversations with other people. Right now, I'm just sharing a little bit of my conversations with Venus Michael, but I have other people on my calendar to start sharing.
Awesome.
with.
So if somebody's watching and says to themselves, wow, I'm connected in some way with you, I should get on with her, they can reach out for that as well.
Absolutely. I bet you we'll have an amazing conversation. Yeah.
Awesome.
Let's do it.
Awesome. All right, Stacey, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you everyone for watching today. I love doing this podcast because I love meeting all these business owners and listening to them share their story. And I like to just help them leverage their voice out in the world through this method. And it's fun for me. And so I thank you for coming on to help me enjoy my own podcast and get to interview yet another wonderful person.
Awesome. Thanks, Paul.
All right. So everyone, thank you for watching. And, we have a lot of episodes there. Go ahead and watch the other episodes. And if you have any comments, leave them there. We can respond to you. And as always, thank you for being with us, and we will see you next time. Bye for now.